Hey, how's it going, guys? It's Aurawest Tarot, and today we're going to be doing for the sign of Aquarius. Their monthly reading. And I have some changes I'm making right now just because of the fact that the channel is still relatively new. And one of the problems I'm having is I'm trying to kind of structure it in a way where we don't really have overlapping messages, should I say. And I started, given that this channel is new, when I started the channel, I was trying to go in kind of like a crash course, trying to figure out which, what spreads to do, what kind of content to put out and all that kind of stuff. And I've been watching the analytics, and the analytics kind of will show you exactly what people are watching and what they're not. And there are a lot of issues with the monthly reads that I'm still trying to hammer out. And my long-term goal for this channel is to essentially have my own kind of custom tarot spread, I guess, for each of the zodiac signs. And doing that is a lot more challenging than it looks. And there's a lot of issues with how the tarot cards, how they're interpreted, how they're read. And so when you're designing your own spread, you really have to encompass, number one, what people want to watch, obviously how you can interpret the tarot cards based on the question you're answering, and you obviously want to. The end goal is to get something that's relevant to what people want to actually watch, and on top of that, having accurate and clear messages. And it's a little harder than it looks, so that is chewing a lot of my time. And I was reviewing back on my original way that I was doing it, and it's far too long. There's just portions of it that aren't being watched. So I got rid of that, and then I tried a different spread with the Scorpio. If you go and click the Scorpio monthly read, you'll see I was trying it there. And even then, that was just too time consuming. So I'm trying to redesign it again. But because it's not really done yet, I'm going to have to unfortunately continue to work on it. But in the meantime, I'm just going to focus on doing Celtic Crosses for these reads. It's tried and tested. It's been done. And I just figured, at least it'll buy me some time right now. We can still kind of get content out there, number one. Number two, get messages out there. So that's what I'm going to focus on. I will, in addition to the Celtic Cross that I'll be doing in just a bit here, I'll be using this deck, the Dreams of Gaia Tarot. I really love this deck. It's one of my... It's one of the decks I pretty much held dear to my heart. It's got quite a bit of meaning to it and how I came across it. Maybe I'll save that for another day. There's a long story behind it, how I acquired it. It's not like it's a secret deck or something like that. You can go and buy it, but the way that I got to that deck, there's a really cool story behind it. But for now, my plan for this video is to essentially, we'll read from one card from the Dreams of Gaia deck. I'll read that, and then we'll go into your Celtic Cross. Okay, and like I said, in the future, I don't know when that's going to be. Hopefully, it's going to be the next time I do these reads. I'll have it squared away by that point. I'm just so incredibly busy. It's just difficult to do this all. I do some candles lit. I've got incense going, and like I said, we're doing for the sign of Aquarius. Just Aquarius. Okay. But last thing I want to touch on that, and just to add on to what I was saying was. Just because of the all sign readings that I have, that's one of the issues that I'm having, because it's already kind of covering a lot of information if you look at it from like the singles portion, and if I expand it to the non-singles, well, then you got to ask yourself, what's the point of including that in the monthly reads? So I'm trying to make it in a way that it's going to be a lot more interesting and different, so we'll see where that goes. Let's move on here, though. The next thing I want to touch bases on, and I never hit the start time, but whatever. The next thing I want to touch bases on is donations real quick. I've pretty much been saying it every video. I've had some great donators so far, and I really appreciate all of you, especially Sabrina. Thank you for that generous donation. She donated quite a bit to me, so I'm very happy with that, and I appreciate that. And Lindsay, Jason, and I think it was Greg or something like that. Sorry about your names, but I appreciate your donations and your support. It's all going towards new equipment that's going to be able to enhance the quality of these videos. And once I get enough money, I'll be purchasing obviously something better equipment to get these videos out a lot faster, convert them a lot quicker, and be able to upload them sooner. in high resolution. So if you'd like to donate, you can go to the About Me section or the drop down link of this page. I'd really appreciate it. Large or small, it all helps. Going through some financial difficulties right now, so I can't, unfortunately, use my own money yet. In the near future, I will be able to, once I get the financial dilemma that I got going on squared away. But in the meantime, anything would help, so I appreciate that. If you do decide to donate, I'll be doing like an event for anyone who donates. I'll be keeping your names to obviously just give my thanks back to you. Lastly, I already covered the Dreams of Gaia. Yeah, so I think that's about it. So let's get right into it. We're going to start now with the Dreams of Gaia deck. Excuse me. This is essentially going to be just a message. A single message that I'll read from the Dreams Gaia book. It's a beautifully written book. I definitely encourage you, if you are good at tarot or you enjoy tarot a lot and you have some change and you would like to expand your tarot collection, definitely consider purchasing this deck. It's not your traditional, it's an advanced kind of deck, so I would not buy it if you're new to tarot. Okay, it's not structured like pentacles, wands, and all that kind of stuff. They use different terminology and everything like that, so it's a little bit more advanced. Even from my understanding, you'll have trouble with it. So, don't recommend it for people who are new to tarot. Alright. So, what we got for the zodiac sign of Aquarius for the next 2 weeks, going into December. The first 2 weeks of December, can we get one message for the zodiac sign? Holy shit, look at that. We're going to take it. Okay. That one wanted to come out, I guess. So let's see what we got. Masculine, feminine. Let's see what that's about. Interesting. So we're going to read from this. And I'll put timestamps in the video link down below. If you just want to skip past this, you don't want to watch this, then you can just go straight to the Celtic Cross. Masculine, feminine. I don't think I've ever seen this card. Like ever, actually. It's really weird. It's the 11 of Fire. Interesting. I've never seen this card. So it is a fire energy. So let's go to the masculine or feminine, 256. Alright, so this is for the zodiac sign of Aquarius for the next 2 weeks going into December. It is upright, so I'm going to read it as the upright. So the keywords of this card is passive aggressive, creation, destruction, action, inaction, masculine, feminine. Meaning, the 11 of Fire is a balancing realignment card. It symbolizes the importance of balancing our masculine and feminine energies and to remind us who we are. And always will be a mix of both. Our physical gender is irrelevant. The 11 of Fire asks that we look beyond gender stereotypes to how we respond and react to day-to-day experiences. On an energetic level, our masculine aspect serves to protect self and others, while our feminine aspect serves to nurture self and others. In a simplistic society, a typical male will embody a more masculine energy than feminine. They are characteristically more aggressive and forceful, but also very protective of those they feel are in need of protection. However, they are apt to use physical force and aggression to protect. A typical female, however, will embody more feminine energy than a masculine. They are characteristically more passive and yielding, and while possessing the same desire to protect the vulnerable, they will generally use diplomacy and dialogue in order to determine an option that avoids conflict. Gender stereotypes are often one-dimensional and rarely accurate, especially when we're discussing feminine and masculine energy. As opposed to man and woman, it can become very problematic to assign specific attributes to either gender when there are many men who identify as female and women who identify as male. When it comes to masculine and feminine energy, we all have both, regardless of our physical gender, and the gender we have assigned ourselves, and this energy is expressed in how we behave and act. It influences all that we do. Masculine energy is active, impatient, assertive, creative, aggressive, forceful, protective, logical, analytical, and controlling. Feminine energy is inactive, calm, retiring, receptive, passive, yielding, nurturing, emotional, intuitive, and allowing. Masculine energy motivates us to focus upon our personal needs and self, while feminine energy motivates us to think of others and their needs. Again, regardless of gender, a person who is energetic and proactive embracing masculine energy, while a person who is calm and passive is embracing feminine energy. Neither is intrinsically good or bad, but an imbalance is present. It can be evident in our actions and give rise to destructive behavior. An imbalance can occur when we have too much of one and not enough of the other all of the time. Too much of one without enough influence from the other can create a very discordant and destructive mix. But what is the right mix? This is not having equal parts of both, but about having a harmonious blending that is suited to your lifestyle and personal goals and needs. If you are not assertive enough, you may need to embrace more masculine energy. If you are overly assertive to the point where others are always intimidated by you, then consider embracing a little more feminine energy and soften your approach. An aggressive approach or method is sometimes required in order to break from the old and make way for the new. But aggressive methods don't always have to be violent. To be forceful is not always indicative of the physical force being used. Masculine and feminine energy should be allowed to flow and ebb as needed. Like fire, flickering and dancing, you add less fuel if you want things to cool, and more fuel if you want things to heat up. Enough heat gives rise to creative, productive energy, but too much heat can burn both you and others. Cooling things a little gives rise to nurturing warmth, but too little fuel and fire could go out completely. The 11 of fire symbolizes an opportunity to take a moment to evaluate your life and ask whether you need to embrace a little more masculine or feminine energy in your day-to-day activities and relationships. Do you need to step up and be a little bit more assertive or proactive? Does something or someone need your protection? Are you not nurturing yourself or others? Are you being overly analytical? Which is such an Aquarius thing. Instead of heeding your intuition, are you allowing impatience to get to the better of you? When your situation calls for common compromise, are you choosing a path of inaction when you need to embrace one of action in order to manifest the changes you need? Pause for a moment, evaluate, and bring your masculine and feminine energies back into harmonious alignment with your life and your needs. Very interesting. Specifically talking about the logic part there, and I thought that was kind of, once again, kind of interesting because of the fact that, that's Aquarius right there. Can be very analytical. Still has a very deep sense of emotion, no doubt. I'm not even going to put that back because I actually have to do other readings, so let's keep you out, dreamy Gaia. Yeah. Let's keep you out. Yeah. So stuff on the desk. I don't need to write timestamps down. Or maybe I will for this one. Anyway, let's get to the Celtic Cross. I haven't done a Celtic Cross in quite some time, so I may have to look up just for some flash notes. But anyways, I have shuffled the decks. I have reversed cards that need to be reversed. There's a way I do that. I don't look at any of the cards. I don't choose any of the cards. Okay. So what do we have for zodiac sign of Aquarius going in the next 2 weeks? Can we get a Celtic Cross spread, please? 10 cards total. We're going to be situation, challenge, beliefs, root of the issue, distant past, near future, self-perception, outside influences, how others perceive you, action advice, and likely outcome. That's the spread I'm going to be doing. So I didn't make the spread. It's someone else's spread, obviously. The Celtic Cross is just a traditional tarot. It's been around for a long time. So the first 2 weeks of December. Ooh, I had some cards falling out here. There's too many, though. I'm not going to take them. Let's do one more shuffle. And we're going to split the deck. Alright, situation. We've got Cancer energy. For your challenge, we've got Two of Pentacles. Interesting. Alright. Yep, that goes up there. Down. You know what, let me just, because it's how to get distracted, let me just do it. I used to do these a long time ago, like this is years ago, and I haven't done one in forever, because I was trying to make my own spreads. So forgive me if I have to look a little bit. Alright, so Aquarius, your situation right now is the Queen of Cups. What's interesting about that, so the Queen of Cups is going to talk about somebody that is emotionally not shut off. She is somebody that approaches others with a very calm and warming nature, wants to give her love. She's a more mature energy, so she's not somebody that's going to be like a page or the knight. She's going to be a little bit more reserved, but she will approach it in a very balanced and structured way. So this is water on water energy. So it's heavily centered around emotion and kind of really going to the depths of your emotions, being able to have more closer connections. The Queen of Cups is going to be more interested in deeper connections. Unlike the Queen of Wands is going to be more interested. She too would like deep connections, but to a degree. She's more the one that wants to have the fun, the parties, and stuff like that. The Queen of Cups is not so much interested in that. She's more interested, like I said, in the deeper connections. Now, your challenge here is the Two of Pentacles. So for some of you, maybe, this may be a kind of like a challenge of essentially trying to be able to offer you love to some extent. Maybe for some of you want to be more emotionally open. If you've been shut off to some extent, this may be kind of why this is coming with the Two of Pentacles. This could be trying to juggle a lot of different responsibilities in your life, okay? And juggling, more than one thing is not always an easy challenge. I mean, let's look at the average adult these days. You're going to Starbucks in the morning, going to work. You then go to work, dealing with your boss, you're dealing with coworkers and all that kind of stuff. Okay, so by the time you get home, now you already know about, 60% of the day's gone? So 50% of the day's gone. And you still gotta do all, shower, your food. If you got kids, that's a whole other challenge, dealing with all your kids and whatnot, cleaning up. There's just so many different things that can chew up your time. So it's not uncommon these days for people to be kind of sucked into a single kind of lifestyle. There's just no time. I mean, we're pretty much moved from going to the bar, and people back in the day it was always expected that you go out to go and find somebody. You wanted to go and get together with somebody or make new friends, you had to go out there and do it. Nowadays, you just don't sit in your phone and you can just swipe left or right. But even then, some people are saying they don't have time for that. So you can imagine if you don't have time for that, I mean, how busy some people's schedules might be getting. So I'm getting a sense that this is just kind of a issue of trying to not be emotionally shut off so far. We'll see where this goes, but I'm not going to talk too much into it. Let's just see what comes out, and then we'll kind of come back to it. Now in your beliefs position, what do we have here? Nine of Wands. This is somebody that is very interesting correlation with this Two of Pentacles here, because as I said, it's the busy lifestyle, right? It's trying to manage things, keep your balls upright. And with the Nine of Wands being reversed, I have sometimes said that it is a giving up card. It's not always. It is sometimes just being overwhelmed. It's having too much on your plate. You may feel exhausted. So for some of you Aquarians out there, you may just feel extremely tired. You may just be flustered. You may just have too many responsibilities that you're having to deal with. Maybe, kind of getting a little defensive or stubborn at times, finding your emotions are getting a little bit out of hand. So I'm wondering if the situation and the challenge is probably about emotional control and trying to find ways to healthily express your emotions in a way that's not going to be detrimental to yourself. But we'll see here. Now, let's move to the root of the issue. The root of the issue is the Nine of Cups. This does seem for a lot of you trying to work to better yourself in some way or another. It doesn't matter if this is a business or this is for some of you, not every person's working on a business, okay? Some people are just holding down a job, but to some extent, it is the sense of one being into feeling satisfied that you're independent, but also having some type of achievements that you can celebrate, something that you are happy about. If you notice, guys, he's toasting to himself. And that would probably indicate that he's doing that because of the fact that he's satisfied with, the work that he's done. He looks like he's a baker of some sort. So perhaps or a bar owner. So maybe he's running a successful bar and he just wants to toast and say, this has been a long road. I've got to this, I came this far. I'm independent now. I'm supporting myself. Things are going well. It's kind of that kind of vibe. But it does talk a lot about being independent, being on your own, being successful. So it does seem for the root of the issue here that this is a focus on what the problem is. It's the thirst or desire probably to try and acquire that for some of you out there. And even it doesn't mean to say, there's people out there that have a job, they're working hard, and they are investing their money and doing everything that society deems that you should be doing. But at the end of the day, they come home, despite having an apartment and having everything, they just don't feel like that's enough. They don't feel accomplished. They feel depressed, if anything. It's almost like you don't have that fulfilling correspondence to really, what good is, put it this way, what good is having $1 million in the bank, having 5 different cars in the garage and all this kind of stuff if you have no one to share it with? It's just you, yourself, and I. And that's that. And unfortunately, one of the revelations a lot of people can have very quickly is that becomes a very lonely world. It's not fun. And especially when you have no one that really is saying, wow, you accomplished all this stuff, you have no one to share it with. I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, for me personally, I would much rather I'd rather just be poor, but have success under my belt, and have 5 or 6 people that I can get with or something that can tell me, wow, you did that and blah blah blah. I mean, me personally, I would feel a lot better about that. I don't know about you guys, but but if I had to choose between being extremely rich but being alone, you don't have a choice. You have to be alone. I would rather have the company. I mean, it's just not worth it. There's just so many people that are rich beyond their minds, and they're lonely. They're depressed. I mean, you see them taking out these celebrities taking drugs and alcohol, and they're just completely obliterating their mind. And you ask yourself, why? There's got to be something more to the picture than you're seeing. So I think it's one of these situations of, to some extent, working hard, Aquarians. So for those of you out there, I think this is just, it's really going in the first 2 weeks. Probably feeling like perhaps for some of you this could be a love situation too. So I just want to throw that out there. This could also be a love situation impeding on something that you're trying to accomplish. So for some of you Aquarians out there, you could be trying to balance your some type of serious commitment that's coming your way, and you're trying to make it work with what you have going on, and it's becoming a real stress and a challenge. Okay, and the root of the issue is saying 9 of Cups. So that could also talk about not having enough independence. If we're saying it's an issue, right? That maybe it's too much, one or the other. I'm just seeing how it applies to your situation, but it could be some type of, thirst or desire, or not feeling like you've accomplished enough, or you're not getting the recognition that you deserve, and maybe this is why it's the root of the issue. Okay, so let's move on now to your near past. Near past was the Emperor in reverse. So the Emperor in reverse does talk about, not having sufficient enough boundaries in place. This is kind of where I call it. In some ways, it's like minor anarchy. Okay, because it's not completely everything going out of control. So I don't want you to think that when the Emperor is upright, he is somebody that is a little bit monotone, but he is the embodiment of 4 kings, all the suits. So he's very wise. He's been down the road. He knows he's got some scars on his face. He's been there, done it. He's got the t-shirts. If you open the wardrobe, there's going to be about 100 shirts there. Okay, he's done it. So this is why people respect him. At the same time, he lays the law down. He kind of sees how things should be and shouldn't. He knows how things should work to keep things civil and balanced and going and productive. He just has that intuition. But it does kind of cause a problem where things can become a little bit too structured and monotone and stuff like that. And so if we reverse that card, when things, it would generally indicate that that's reached that point where things have sometimes gone now a little out of control. Okay, it can be a bad ruler. It can be somebody that's not really, managing everything very well. And given that we've got the 2 of Pentacles there with your challenge, which is kind of interesting, I think there could be something like that. This could also talk about, for some of you, somebody that is overbearing their dominance to you, which is also infecting your situation currently. Perhaps this is you trying to basically, maybe you're living with family, or you're living with a difficult roommate, or perhaps this is a boss that is extremely straining you, and it's now straining your relationship. So there's a lot of different ways you can apply this Emperor in reverse. But that does seem that was something that you have been challenged, it has been something that you've been facing in your near past year. Which is probably why we're coming into with now the 2 of Pentacles and then the burnout over here with this 9 of Wands in reverse. So very interesting so far. So let's look now at your near future. In position 6 here, we have the Ace of Pentacles. Ace of Pentacles is desiring, and really it's an opportunity to grow. It's something new, found something new. It is more focused on the material aspect side of life, commitments, kind of honoring what you're saying to some extent. It is an opportunity, a foundation. It's that pentacle, that first, I always look at it as the first brick in, if you take a slab of concrete, there's nothing there, just the concrete. So it's that first brick there. It's that opportunity to start building that house. And it's your vision, it's your idea on how you want the house to be, right? So in the near future, it does look like some type of opportunity is going to come available to you. For some of you, this could be an opportunity for job growth or a raise. For others of you, this could be possibly with that Queen of Cups there. You just don't know. It could be somebody that has recently approached you and wants to grow things a little bit further with you. For others of you, this could be a potential to move out or to go somewhere. But there's some type of opportunity that is coming in for you. Going in the first 2 weeks of December. So that's positive so far. I probably will clarify some of these at the end, but for now I just want to keep working through, and then we'll clarify if I need to. Now in the self-perception, we have 7 of Cups in reverse, which kind of, I think, correlates down to some of the energy that we have here. 7 of Cups in reverse does kind of, it is a more grounded card. When I'm not going to go into the whole explanations of the card because I've been doing that a lot and it just drags out the video time. But the 7 of Cups in reverse does talk about kind of being more grounded, more focused on like one direction, one thing. You're no longer kind of seeing multiple, you're not in confusion. You're not confused about your direction. You're not kind of in fantasy land. You're trying to be more practical and grounded with your approach going forwards with things. And that kind of does also correlate with this 2 of Pentacles here, trying to just manage things and in a more practical way, what does work to kind of keep the balls going up. The minute the balls start dropping in the ground, you're not doing a good job managing things, okay? That's the way that's really the way to look at the 2 of Pentacles. It's a juggling card, okay? So think about every single ball as kind of a responsibility. The question is, how many balls can you juggle before you start to drop them? That's the law of diminishing returns. So I do think there is some degree of your self-perception is that you are trying to just be more logical, probably in your approach, not buy into, you probably are looking more for, at this time, concrete ideas that are tried and tested and work. Kind of like I'm doing here. That just, isn't that funny that I was talking about that, about using the Celtic Cross because it's tried and tested, right? So that's kind of funny that I was talking about that earlier. Now, going into outside influences, you do have the Strength card. Not 100%. It's kind of an interesting outside influence. So right now, with your outside influences, people are seeing you as a Strength card, which will probably talk about that they do see you working incredibly hard, which is kind of coming back to what this seems to be about. As I touched bases on just a little bit ago. Which is, for a lot of you are probably trying to acquire your own independence. You're trying to stand on your own 2 feet, kind of have some self-respect, have people kind of acknowledge you for what what you've accomplished so far, and you do want to have more fulfilling relationships and connections with people, which is probably why that Queen of Cups is there. And then, so far the whole spread looks really good. It does look like this is a direct transition of trying to be more grounded and structured and practical in your approach. And I think people are recognizing at this time, I think they are seeing that you are putting an enormous amount of work into whatever you're doing, whether it just be a career job or a business that you're starting, or just trying to, you don't even have to be working. For some of you Aquarians out there may be unemployed and you're just a stay-at-home mom or you're a stay-at-home dad that, is trying to honestly make the whole household run, trying to, just do a lot. There's a lot behind the scenes of being a stay-at-home parent that a lot of people just don't sometimes, they fail to recognize how much work it is. It's a lot of work. So, but this may be kind of getting some more exposure. Maybe you have been kind of, for some of you, reaching out to some people and trying to have better, closer connections with people, and they probably are seeing that you are putting an enormous amount of work to change and also see a better, better light of day, essentially, better days. Now, action advice is very, Very strange, because it's showing up as the Five of Swords. So, I want to say with this action advice, for some of you, this goes two ways. Number two, I do think you do have to some extent, stand your guard a little bit and have to, don't allow yourself to be steamrolled by other people. The Five of Swords isn't really necessarily always considered a good card. There's a lot of issues with it, but you may kind of want... it is Aquarius energy as well, which is kind of cool in Aquarius reading, right? But the Five of Swords does talk about being careful a little bit. I would say, it's an action advice, so it is saying probably you do need to stand your ground a little bit. This is more, I'm talking more in the lighter context of the card. So for some of you, maybe with this Nine of Wands in reverse, as I talked about, and that is in your belief section, you probably believe that you do have to kind of almost exhaust yourself to some extent, and that but the problem with that card is it does allow sometimes, when you're so burnt out like that, you got to ask yourself, how effective are you? There's only so much. Once again, it's like the law of diminishing returns. There's only so much that you can do before it starts to become a negative. Okay, it's just how our world works. You can't. A lot of people are so determined to get to success or whatever like that they'll just end up half killing themselves in the process to do it. But when they start to become extremely tired and exhausted, their walls and their boundaries and stuff start to crumble. They don't manage things very well. So that start to lead to people starting to infiltrate and start to overstep their boundaries and stuff, because it's kind of like that in the herd. You see, what do the animals always, the lions and stuff always do? They're always looking for the weakest one, the one that's most burnt out. Why? Because they're vulnerable. So this does probably talk about that you do need to be vigilant for some of you in standing up for yourself and fighting for what you believe in. For others of you, this does talk about being careful about involving yourself in too much conflict. There may be, somebody that's toxic around you that is constantly coming on your doorstep wanting to fight or argue, just pick a fight with you. I don't know. I have noticed in my all signs reading, there's been a lot of tension and stuff going on. Yeah, a lot of tension going on. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is kind of saying that, like, almost pick your fights. Be careful about what fights you're engaging in. Okay. Because it can obviously disrupt progress that's coming to you, and like I said, there does seem to be some financial growth that's coming towards you. So I would just let some of your Aquarians know that in the next 2 weeks, expect it does look good for finance. As far as your finances go, it does look like there's going to be growth. And how much? I don't know. It's different for everyone, but it's showing some type of growth with that Ace of Pentacles being upright, which is also really nice to see. Lastly, we have the likely outcome is death. Couldn't ask for more. Death card does talk about, it is a card of, in most cases you'll see it's basically desolation to some extent. It almost looks in some versions of tarot, it almost looks like that ground there. It's like, just everything's ruined. But in some cases, there has to be tower moments that occur in our lives where it knocks foundations to the point there's just rubble and debris everywhere. But the horse in traditional, I think it's the Rider-Waite tarot or whatever, shows the dead king on there, but he's still standing on his horse, and so he's transforming. He's stepping through a gateway. It's inevitable change. So that's what I'm trying to say. This is change, and what I really like with the outcome there, this is probably for some of you leaving a toxic lover that no longer serves you. For some of you, a dead-end job that is just killing you, just sending you into burnout. Okay, this is going for that next stage of success, that evolution of yourself, having to stand up for yourself. Okay, others seeing that you're standing strong. Look at that. Being strong about yourself, standing up for yourself, and no longer being confused and having other people whispering in your ear, just selling you bullshit all the time. Okay? And so death really is kind of like almost a reincarnation of yourself. It doesn't mean that you literally die. That's not what I'm saying. It's almost like a reincarnation of the spirit where you're evolving and growing as a person and going into a new phase of your life. So it is a good card to get. But it is daunting for some people because it does kind of scare them a little bit that it's like, now, oh boy, you know, what's changing now? I thought I was just trying to get everything stabilized, and now what's this, you know, what is the universe telling me now? It's going to come knock everything down, and you know, that's not really what it's about. You know, like I said, you really have to look at the more positive side, that, you know, life is ever changing. You're not the same person you were yesterday, and you're not going to be the same person you were the day before that. You know, you're constantly changing every single day. And if you look at yourself 1 year from today, you're going to look back and you could probably write down at least a good 5 or 10 things, I sure hope you could, that you've grown or changed in, right? So overall, I think it looks good, Aquarius. I think this is about growth and expansion and change. I think for a lot of you are going in the right direction, but it does seem that there is some concern about your boundaries possibly being intruded on. So some of you are going to have to stand up for yourself a little bit. Others of you, it's about facing burnout, just kind of trying to balance your emotional needs, right, over the burnout. Trying to, I mean, you can't do everything. And some people, you've all seen that guy that's at work, right? Working, they'll say, how many hours are you working? 120 hours. Well, ask yourself, good for you, but how much of that time is being spent on family or relationships? And they'll probably, guaranteed, they'll probably tell you, what family, what relationships. You know, there's a trade-off to everything in life. Everybody gets the same 24 hours in a given day. I don't care who you are. Unless you're some person that's figured out quantum mechanics and figured out a way to get around that, then good for you, but that's not all of us. So for others, this could also be, like I said, dealing with a relationship that's been going back and forth, and you probably trying to kind of realize that, you know, I need my emotional needs met better, and I would like to have a more closer, fulfilling relationship, and what I've been dealing with just hasn't been fulfilling me, which is where that Death card comes in, and also the Ace of Pentacles showing that there's a new possibility for expansion and growth. So I like it, Aquarius. I think you're on the right track, and a lot of you just need to stick with it. Keep your head up high, just like in the Strength card, and, you know, prosperity is going to come to you, abundance will come to you. And also reflect back to the Dreams of Gaia tarot there, when I talked about the masculine and feminine, to really kind of examine, because a lot of this burnout that we saw as I was going through the spread here, kind of corresponds back to that. If you want to just kind of say to yourself, you know, when it was talking about being aware of the different energies of the feminine and masculine, right? And they were talking about how the masculine can sometimes be overbearing, domineering, and stuff like that, which might be where that you know, 5 of Swords was at, talking about that. Sometimes you need to you know, embody your masculine side. It doesn't matter if you're female or you're male. And furthermore, sometimes there's a time where we have to also embrace our emotional side. And Aquarians do have a very deep emotional side to them. It's just not oftentimes seen by a lot of other people, because it's just a different way that Aquarians express that. And it's, you know, Aquarians are notorious for being overlooked for that, I would say. And people always say, oh, they're so cold, they're so cold. They're not. Aquarians have a very deep emotional understanding of things. It's just expressed in a different way that unfortunately other signs may not always understand. That's not everyone. There are people that understand it. But anyways, I don't want to ramble too much more. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be doing Gemini next, trying to catch up on everything. And like I said, I will be changing this format up. The Celtic Cross is just for now. Just let me know what you thought in the comment section if you would. That would be very appreciative. If you like how I did it like this, I can always just keep it Celtic Cross. I really don't care. Otherwise, I'll just continue to work on my spread and see what happens in the near future here. So thanks again for watching. I appreciate it. And like I said, I would also appreciate it if you like, comment, share, subscribe to the channel. Every little bit helps, and it would help the channel grow. So thanks again, guys. Thanks for watching.